So when I was doing my initial research on raw food, one of the reasons why I got so overwhelmed was getting into the whole question of supplements. So if you talk about the simple three components being bone and organ meat, that's kind of like the simple structure of pretty much every raw diet out there. And then on top of that, now we're getting into supplements. And supplements, you could fall down a rabbit hole really quickly, really easily, and then it becomes very confusing, very overwhelming. And if you look at diets like the barf diet, for example, I believe has nuts, fruits, vegetables as part of the barf diet. And that's where it got really confusing. If you're going to start talking about supplements, make sure you kind of start with the basics first. So you've established that you enjoy raw food for your dog. Your dogs are responding incredibly well. Everything is stable and peaches and cream. Now you can start thinking about supplements. There's kind of two camps when it comes to supplements. There are people who believe in pill form supplements, and then there are folks like me who have tried that, didn't like it, and then moved on to a whole food supplement. So what are the differences between the two? So think of it this way. I want to get my dog calcium for their bones. Great. Well, you can buy a calcium tablet and put it in their food, or you can give your dog a bone, which has calcium and a whole lot of other things. The thing about supplements is that it's complicated, and they're all nice to haves, and they're good things for sure. And I add supplements to my dog's diet. But the thing about supplements is that it's a lot more complex when it comes to certain minerals or vitamins, because if you buy, let's say, a vitamin or a mineral or collagen or something like that on its own, you might not be getting all the benefit from whatever supplement that you're buying, simply because that supplement needs something else to be absorbed by the body, which is, again, I don't want to get overcomplicated here, but some minerals or things that you give your dog have to be absorbed through fat, for example. So if you give your dog something and there's no fat that goes along with it, it's not absorbed by your dog. It simply passes through their system. So when you go to a whole food supplement, your dogs are getting everything else that goes along with that supplement. So think about a vitamin C tablet versus an orange. Okay. They both contain vitamin C, and they will both give your body vitamin C. However, the tablet is on its own, whereas the orange will come with a bunch of other stuff that's good for them. My personal experience is that supplements in pill form look great on the shelf, but they're very expensive, especially if you're dealing with a large or multiple dog household, and they're not as good as the whole food supplement. So another common one is omega-3, fatty acids, that kind of thing. Fish oils are really good for your dog, in my experience anyway. So I've chosen to supplement my dog's raw diet with whole fish, not parts of the fish, but like a whole small 6 to 8 inch fish, either mackerel, or you can get whole sardines that are frozen that are very affordable. So they're getting the whole fish as opposed to just the oil. It's going to be a lot more holistic when it comes to the nutrition they get from that supplement versus just the single thing here or there. Oh, can I combine some parts of raw and other parts half cooked, like liver or kidneys? I don't really know the answer to it. What I would say, though, is one of the big reasons why why people go raw is because in raw form, all the nutrition that is in that organ or in that piece of meat is there. None of it has been cooked away. If you're feeding your dog raw, I always encourage people to keep everything else raw as well. It's just much more consistent when it comes to your dog's digestion and everything else. But feel free to experiment because there's no real wrong answers. I'm trying to think. The closest thing that I got to combining cooked and raw is when I make a bone broth for my dogs. Bone broth is actually one of the best supplements I can recommend. It is cooked, but it's not, you're just using the liquid part of it. So a bone broth is super healthy. It's got a lot of vitamins and nutrients, microvitamins and stuff that come from the bones that is really good for them that you can supplement their raw diet with. So that's the closest thing that I've gotten to in terms of combining cooked and raw. But I would guess that there's more nutrients in the raw form than there is in the cooked form. But again, see if it works. What about omega-3 from a whole fish? Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. What is the amount? So the amounts of supplements, as long as it's not in excess, aren't really that important, right? So when you're talking about supplementing your dog's diet, the whole idea behind a supplement is that it's not necessary, meaning if your dog doesn't get it, their health won't suffer. So your primary diet should have all the nutritional requirements that your dog needs to have a healthy life. Supplements are like the icing on the cake. They're nice to haves. So take fish oil, for example. It's going to make your dog's fur really nice and soft. It's going to make their eyes really shiny and glowy. It's going to help with their skin moisture levels. So if your dog has dry skin, maybe that's going to help out a lot. However, supplements are not necessary. So for example, I give my dogs maybe 2 or 3 of those whole fish a week, and that's about it. So it's not too much, but they get the bone broth every day. Where would I get an appropriate whole fish? Go to the frozen food section, and you can usually find it there. I go to an Asian market specifically because it has a lot of organ meat that you can't find at like your typical main chain of grocery store. And it has a fishmonger on site, it has a butcher on site, even has a halal butcher on site as well. So what I would say is if you're having trouble sourcing your ingredients to make your own raw food or to buy supplements, do a bit of research and find a market. Markets are great for finding weird stuff like that. But yes, a fishmonger, your butcher can be your best friend. I love talking to the butcher when I go to get my dog's food. You'll learn quite a lot from them and they can help you out. Do you supplement with a powdered probiotic or yogurt, goat's milk? Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier. Something in a powdered form isn't going to be as good, in my opinion, as the whole food alternative. So if you're looking for a probiotic, yes, I would use yogurt versus a powdered something or other. It's just more natural that way. Is there one or more super whole food supplements that you recommend to add to any diet daily? Superfoods is a human term often associated with antioxidants. So antioxidants, again, I don't want to get overly complicated here, but the reason why people buy into the whole food, probiotics, whatever, is because humans live a very long time and these free radicals can create complications and cancer and stuff. With dogs, because they live such a short life, the need for these superfoods isn't as great. But things like blueberries, whatever, they're all good, but not necessary. I would say the closest thing to a superfood for dogs that they will actually not only enjoy, but really get a lot of benefit out of is bone broth. So bone broth is taking a bunch of joint bones, usually from a cow, and simmering it for over 24 hours. And you get this really lovely, nutrient-rich, it's like a superfood that they can eat with their diet, and that's really, really good for them. So I would say bone broth is my recommendation for a superfood. Thank you. I've nodded through this whole program. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. The thing about being a dog lover is that everybody understands and has this common thread between them where we want to help each other out and help each other's dogs out because we have this shared love and affection for these beautiful animals that come into our lives. So wanting them to have as healthy and rich of a life as possible is a great thing. Do you add the bone broth to your dog's meal? Yes, I do. If you have a fussy eater, which most dogs are fussy with kibble, but when it comes to raw, that usually goes out the window. But if you do have a fussy eater, bone broth is amazing at helping them to eat. It adds a lot of flavor and really nice texture, and it's full of really good nutrients. Do you need vitamin E with omega-3? See, this is the thing. This is the rabbit hole that I was talking about when it comes to supplements, is that you can get into an almost endless debate about what does this nutrient go with that and the rest of it. If you just stick with a whole food option, it's kind of going to solve those problems for you. So think about all the nutrients and beneficial stuff that comes from like a fish or a meaty bone. A meaty bone or whole fish is not just one thing. It's going to have the complexity, the micronutrients, all the nuance that dogs will get. If you look at Alaskan sled dogs, most of them live on a diet of completely just salmon because it's plentiful up there. But yeah, I don't really know the answer to does vitamin E go with omega-3 and the rest of it. It's very difficult. What do you think about medicinal mushrooms? Personally, sure, why not? Who doesn't enjoy a bit of altered consciousness once in a while? For your dog, I would say no. I don't think I would make that recommendation, especially when we're talking about your dog's diet. There is a whole debate about CBD oil and that kind of thing. That I am unfamiliar with, but medicinal mushrooms, the psychedelic kind, I don't think that would have a positive effect on your dog. I don't know. In terms of other whole food recommendations, the oils are really nice. So my favorite supplement in terms of an oil is coconut oil. The unpasteurized organic is my preference. It's fantastic for their skin. It's great externally as well as for them consuming it. It's lovely. But if you're looking at some alternatives, I think grapeseed oil is a nice alternative, or even olive oil, although olive oil gets really expensive. Finely chopped green leafy vegetables are really good, as long as you puree them or chop them up super, 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 super tiny, because a dog's digestive system isn't really built or long enough for whole big chunks of vegetables. And ginger is nice too. Turkey tail. I didn't know turkeys had tails. That's interesting. Speaking about mushrooms as they relate to cancer. UPenn has a study on that. Okay. The great thing is that there's always new information. I always find it a shame that there isn't more scientific studies when it comes to dogs' diet and their raw diet versus kibble and some of the benefits and that kind of thing. Simply because the raw diet industry is not structured the same way the kibble industry is structured. If you look at a Purina or a Mars or any of the big manufacturers of kibble, they don't just make dog kibble, they make tons of other stuff. And it's simply just another product line. So there's quite a bit of research, I think, on kibble. I don't think there's enough. The institutions doing research into these types of medicinal treatments for dogs, I think is great. So yeah, I haven't read about that, but that's an interesting study that I'll definitely read up on. One of the things I will say to everyone when it comes to raw in general, and especially the raw diet that you make at home, is that if your dog has any type of health issues, it is by far the superior choice. I made a raw diet for a dog with pancreatitis that helped him immensely. And if you guys aren't familiar with pancreatitis, it's a medical condition where dogs have a lot of trouble digesting fat. So going to a highly customizable diet in that type of instance is by far where you're going to get the best benefit. If your dog has health issues, then a customized diet can make a significant difference in their lives. Especially like with senior dogs too. Like I have a senior dog and I customized his diet to optimize his time of his life, and it's made a big difference for sure. And picking up tiny poops is always great.